Get ready to tune in, turn back the dial, and rediscover the airwaves of yesteryear. This is Echoes from the Past, your backstage pass to the shows that changed everything.
Let's take a trip back to 1940. Imagine this. You're seated close to a massive, glowing radio, and the very first words of Superman on the airwaves come crackling through. It all began on War in New York City that February. A time when Superman, the Man of Steel, was leaping not buildings, but from the pages of Action Comics to the imagination of millions. The timing honestly couldn't have been better. America was on the cusp of enormous social and technological shifts, and people were searching for stories that offered hope, justice, and a little bit of escapism. Superman was this larger-than-life beacon, you know? A hero who stood up not just for truth, but for the everyday person tuned in, hanging on every word. What's really fascinating, though, was the show's transition to the Mutual Broadcasting System 2 years later, in 1942. That move turned what started as a local sensation into a national phenomenon. Mutual had the reach and the infrastructure to broadcast Superman to living rooms across the country, and the show's popularity just exploded. Suddenly, Superman wasn't just a character. He was everywhere. Kids were playing as him in their backyards. Families organized their evenings around these broadcasts. And I gotta say, this part always gets me. When I think about those days, I can't help but remember sitting with my grandfather, years and years after those golden days of radio. We stumbled upon some old Superman episodes on cassette, of all things. And he, with this twinkle in his eye, started sharing stories of listening to the original broadcasts as a boy. It was kind of magical. It felt like this thread connecting our generations through a hero we both admired. I mean, I'm sure that's one of the reasons this show still resonates today. It's timeless. Its stories, its themes, even its sound effects sticks with us. Right from its start, Superman proved to be more than a comic book character. He was a cultural phenomenon, something that bound families together around stories of truth and courage. Let's dive into how the Superman radio show evolved over the years. Originally, it was these short 15-minute serials that left you hanging on every episode. It was kind of like the bingeable shows we all love today, but, without the luxury of watching the next episode whenever you wanted. You had to wait. Talk about patience, right? Then, in 1949, something changed. The format shifted to these longer half-hour episodes. That adjustment opened up more room for storytelling, not just the action-packed cliffhangers, but the layers, the character moments. It was this bold step, kind of risky at the time, since it was a departure from what audiences were used to. But it worked. The length gave listeners a richer, fuller story to immerse themselves in. What's really interesting is how the show managed to adapt to different networks, too. When it transitioned to ABC, it started airing on Saturday mornings, capturing a whole new crowd of young listeners. That flexibility, adapting to new formats and new audiences, was a big reason Superman stayed relevant on the air for so long. Now, let's talk about the nostalgia factor, especially today. Fans from that era often talk about the thrill of gathering around the radio as a family. But now, you've got people rediscovering these episodes through modern platforms, and the experience isn't always seamless. The episodes are scattered. Sometimes they're incomplete or missing altogether, which, let's be honest, can be frustrating. Still, despite these challenges, there's something enduring about those episodes. Like take Dennis Humphrey's introduction, defender of truth, justice, and the American way. It became this legendary phrase that just stuck. And by leaving it intact, even when other versions chose to cut or update it, there's a sense of preserving history, like holding on to a piece of what made that era so special. It's not just a tagline, it's part of the identity of Superman. And really, part of what made the show so memorable. Now, let's bring this all together by talking about where the Superman radio legacy stands today. Radio Memories Network LLC has done something pretty special here. By updating and maintaining the series, they've essentially bridged the past with the present, giving modern audiences a chance to experience this art form as it was, while also introducing it to younger generations who might never have tuned into a radio drama otherwise. But not everything's perfect, right? You read listener reviews, and it's clear there's a mix of emotions. Some people absolutely love the nostalgia. For them, it's like stepping into a time machine, back to those golden evenings spent as a family around the radio. But they've also got concerns. Accessibility isn't always smooth. The episodes can disappear, and sometimes the editing isn't top-notch. It's frustrating, sure, when something you love feels kind of incomplete or, well, patchy at times. And speaking of nostalgia, isn't it incredible how it has this power to connect us across time? I think back to listening to those tapes with my grandfather again. I mean, the moment wasn't just about Superman or the story itself. It was about us. It's this magic, where a voice from decades past reaches you today and makes you feel something. It reminds you not just of who you are, but where you've come from, you know? Nostalgia, at its best, becomes a tool for reflection. It connects generations. It creates shared experiences, shared memories. And with something like Superman, it's not just a symbol of hope or justice. It's a piece of storytelling that has stood the test of time. It's a reminder that no matter what shape the stories take, a 15-minute serial, a half-hour drama, or a digital podcast, they matter because they bring us together, even when the world tries to push us apart. And on that note, that's all for today. Thank you for joining me on this trip down memory lane. It's been great sharing these stories with you. Until next time, take care and keep listening for those echoes from the past. See you soon.
Thank you for joining us on this journey through the airwaves of the past. We hope you've enjoyed exploring the classic radio shows that shaped generations and left a lasting legacy. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode of Echoes from the Past. If you loved today's episode, don't forget to share it with fellow fans of history, storytelling, and vintage radio magic. Until next time, keep your dial set to the golden era and let the echoes of the past remind us of the timeless power of radio.